I don't typically go in for reality shows, but when I sat down to watch Lenox Hill, the Netflix documentary series, I got just instantly hooked and sucked in, and I couldn't stop watching. But does that mean it's really good? Or is it just a train wreck? Lenox Hill is a limited documentary series on Netflix, and what it is it follows a bunch of doctors at the Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City. We have 2 neurosurgeons who are also oncologists, an ER doctor, and an OBGYN that they follow. And it's over the course of about a year. And we just get to see the ins and outs and how they work and what they do. And we don't get a ton of outside of the hospital. We do get glimpses of their family life and their home life, probably most from the OBGYN doctor. But as it stands, we get to watch their cases, and they interview and they interact with patients in real life cases. Now, it's 8 episodes long, and each episode is about 45 minutes. So it's going to kill about 6.5 hours of your time, give or take, somewhere in there. But honestly, when I started watching, I was just kind of like, I'll check this out, see what it is. And I could not stop watching. I got sucked into the doctors and the cases and the patients themselves and just everything that they are going through and how intriguing it was. It's not mystery, but these doctors are like detectives at some points. I like how the show is balanced also, because the neurosurgeons, they're dealing with super high stakes surgeries all the time. And most of these people have cancer, and so and it's pretty graphic. They show the surgeries. And so if you're not into just gore or the fine tunings of like the inner workings of the head and tumors and stuff, then you're not going to want to watch this. The gore isn't gratuitous. I mean, it's there for a purpose, and they don't just exploit the patients or the blood and the brains or anything else. I mean, it's there to just illustrate what it is that is going on. A lot of the time we hear that surgeons and doctors even are very jaded and very cold, and I can certainly understand how they get that way, especially if they work in like the ER or some high turnaround where you just get a lot of people who are either trying to score drugs or just gaming the system or just are a really big pain in the butt to deal with. I mean, we've spent time in the ER before, and you can see how the doctors and the nurses, they have to shut a lot of it out because otherwise they're taken advantage of and it really begins to eat at them. But I like how in this, we get to see the doctor's real emotions, and they aren't jaded. I mean, they are very invested in what their patient outcomes are. More than once, you see the neurosurgeons break down and cry as they deliver bad news or they hear symptoms, and they just get frustrated over a tumor that has come back. And you also get to see the care and compassion that comes from not only them, but the ER doc and the OBGYN as they coach through their patients through procedures, as they listen in the ER to just all of the complaints. And sometimes they have frequent flyers who come in, and the doctor still treats them with respect, with dignity, doesn't judge them, just listens. And you see a lot of the time too, the doctors will have the questions, especially the ER doc, about, well, are you using drugs? Were you using drugs? And it's not to bust them. It's not even to judge them. She is truly asking because she needs to know, because then that determines how she treats that patient. The series isn't all down and dour either. There are some lighthearted moments in the ER. You have somebody who comes in and the dude just wants some Thai food. And that is hilarious. I don't really know what was going on with him too much, but he was still polite, which was even more funny because he was very demanding and just gregarious in what he wanted, but he was also a nice guy. And you have some people who are homeless, or you have some people who are the frequent flyers, or even somebody who has just stopped taking their meds, and so it's doing some really bad things to them because they're not taking their meds. More than once in this, we also get to see where the doctor becomes the patient, and it is funny to watch, at least in certain aspects, how the doctors treat the other doctors. Because, I mean, golly, I can't imagine what kind of a patient a doctor is. Especially with the OBGYN doctor, she's pregnant. And so she comes in to deliver her baby. And that interaction between her mentor, who is a doctor, and the nurses, that is just, it's gold right there because of the conversations that go on. And you see even the doctor, she's messing with her own little sensor, her monitor there to set her own settings how she wants them. I mean, I can't imagine how nightmarish that would be if I were a doctor. Overall, this is really interesting to watch. I mean, not only from just a science and medical standpoint, but also just from a human standpoint. And to watch these people just interact with not only their colleagues, but the public, and try and work out details and work problems to solve the health crisis that's in front of them at that moment. This may not be something that you rush right out to see, and especially if you're not into medicine at all or don't find reality type of shows or the introspection into somebody's life kind of interesting, then you're going to want to skip this completely. But I do got to warn you that once you stop watching, you will get sucked in. That it's not overly dramatic. It's not just larger than life. They're not trying to get you in with any kind of just, that typical reality TV stunts. This is truly, you're just walking along with the doctors for an extended period of time and watching them deal with cases. There's no sex. There might be some brief nudity, but it is certainly not sexualized. There is a lot of profanity, and there is no violence, but like I said, there's gore because we are dealing with medicine. I really highly recommend that you check out Lenox Hill at some point on Netflix. Are there any documentary series that you're watching that I should check out? I probably still have some on my list that I still need to watch, but I'm always looking for more recommendations. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.